Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling two concepts that seem worlds apart, really. We've got the Sigma male archetype from, internet culture, and then spiritual intelligence, CQ, from cognitive theory.
It's definitely an unusual pairing. And our mission, basically, is to take this pop culture figure, the lone wolf type, and see how well it actually holds up against, serious psychological frameworks.
Right. Does that whole outside the system thing genuinely lead to inner wisdom, or is it something else?
Is it maybe just a kind of sophisticated avoidance? That's what we want to explore.
Yeah, and it's pretty surprising that this archetype, which, let's be honest, came from some fairly fringe online spaces, actually has aspects that align with real psychological ideas. But okay, let's define our terms. What exactly is the Sigma male?
Okay, so the core idea is the Sigma is presented as like the psychological equal to the alpha male. But the key difference is they operate outside the usual social hierarchies. Think strategic, quiet, the lone wolf who really values independence, freedom, nonconformity above pretty much everything else.
They're not playing the game.
Exactly. They choose to ignore it or maybe play their own game.
And we do need to touch on the origin here. The source material notes the term was apparently coined by Theodore Robert Beale, a far-right figure. So that means we need to look at this very carefully, psychologically speaking.
Absolutely crucial. We have to see it as an identity people might adopt, not some scientifically validated type. It needs scrutiny.
Got it. So the other side of the coin, spiritual intelligence, SISQ, what's the definition we're working with? And importantly, this isn't about religion, right?
Correct. Not necessarily religion at all. SISQ is defined as an adaptive intelligence. It's about the capacity for meaning, for vision, for creating and living by deep values. Secular spirituality fits right in.
So it's like the mind's tool for finding purpose, the why behind things.
That's a great way to put it. It guides us toward goals beyond just, narrow self-interest. And the really interesting thing is how the research is evolving. High SQ is being linked to optimized brain function, basically.
Optimized? How so?
Like whole brain coherence, a more integrated, balanced state of mind. And the theory is this state actually helps people, transcend the ego.
Yeah.
Operate more from consciousness itself.
Wow. Okay. So the goal for us today is to use solid frameworks, Emmons, Zohar, to see if the Sigma's path, that solitary path, actually helps or hinders developing that kind of mature, integrated ISQ.
Does the lone wolf grow a soul that connects, essentially?
That's the big question.
Indeed it is.
Okay, let's start with the potential alignment. The sources do suggest some areas where the Sigma's core traits seem to, fit quite nicely with SQ principles. Where's the overlap?
Well, the most obvious starting point is the Sigma's preference for solitude. SQ development really needs self-awareness, understanding your deep beliefs, your values, what truly motivates you.
And being alone forces that kind of introspection.
It certainly provides the space for it. That quiet introspection is almost tailor-made for cultivating self-awareness. You have to face yourself.
Okay, that makes sense. And what about their nonconformity, that refusal to just, go along with the crowd?
That links directly to one of Zohar's ECQ principles. Field independence.
Field independence.
Yeah, it's the ability to hold your own convictions, to stand apart from group pressure or prevailing norms. The Sigma, almost by definition, needs that internal firewall to reject social influence and operate from their own values.
But hang on a second. How do we know that's genuine conviction and not just being contrary for the sake of it? Rejecting norms just to feel special. Isn't that still ego?
That's a really important point. True field independence, in the ECQ sense, means the conviction comes from some kind of ethical clarity or deep thought, not just, I'm different.
Okay.
And actually, the Sigma's generally strategic mind does support another ECQ element, existential thinking. They often seem prone to asking those big why questions about life, about reality. That's a driver for seeking deeper meaning.
So they're almost approaching their inner life strategically, like meaning is a puzzle to solve inside themselves.
You could say that, yeah. And looking at Robert Emmons's framework, that hyper-independence aligns very well with the ability to utilize spiritual resources to solve problems.
Meaning they rely on themselves.
Exactly. They're already geared to look inward for answers and solutions, not necessarily seek external validation or help.
So if that independence is paired with genuine SQ, they could potentially turn challenges into growth purely internally. Their strength becomes a foundation for maybe virtuous action.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
The archetype definitely starts with some powerful tools. Independence, critical thinking, that ability to stand apart. It looks promising. But now we hit the major roadblock.
The ego paradox, right? If XU is about transcending the ego, The whole Sigma identity, even being outside the hierarchy, can feel very much about protecting or projecting a certain kind of ego, can it?
That's the core conflict. It's this desire for what you might call inverted status.
Inverted status.
Yeah, like the archetype often seems like this aspirational fantasy. The cool, quiet guy who's admired because he's outside the system, but he's still somehow seen as powerful or, top tier in his own way.
So the focus is still on how others perceive them, even if it's as an outsider.
Precisely. The moment you're actively managing that lone wolf image, making sure people see you that way, you're feeding the ego, not moving beyond it.
It's like building a fortress of solitude, but spending all your time polishing the nameplate on the door. The focus is still outward.
Exactly. IQ demands controlling those egocentric impulses. But wanting to be recognized as the lone wolf, well, that's fundamentally about seeking a specific perception from others. That's ego.
Okay, so looking at Zohar's more comprehensive SQ model, where does this lone wolf persona really fall short?
The big failures tend to be interpersonal and systemic. First up is compassion.
Compassion, defined how?
Defined as that quality of feeling with others. Deep empathy. This clashes pretty directly with the Sigma tendency towards emotional detachment, often intellectualizing feelings rather than truly experiencing them.
Right. If the detachment is like an emotional shield, maybe the defense mechanism, then empathy gets blocked. You can't feel with someone if you've walled off feeling itself.
You've hit it. And that links straight into the second major failure point. Holism.
Holism, seeing the bigger picture.
Exactly. SQ requires seeing larger patterns, connections, recognizing that everything is deeply interdependent. That's almost the opposite of the self-proclaimed lone wolf status, isn't it?
Yeah, completely.
True View involves realizing you're part of a larger system, a larger whole, not a totally self-sufficient unit. The hyper-independent stance naturally resists acknowledging that deep interdependence.
So the Sigma fails holism because they see themselves as the whole system when SQ says we're all just connected parts.
That's a very good summary, yes.
Okay, this next bit feels really critical. The difference between positive chosen solitude and potentially harmful isolation, they can look the same from the outside.
They can, but the intent behind the solitude, according to the source material, is everything. It determines whether SQ can actually grow or if it just stagnates.
So what defines positive solitude?
Intentionality. It has to be a deliberate choice. Time taken specifically for reflection, for rejuvenation, maybe for confronting your own the inner demons, as the source puts it.
A conscious retreat for growth.
Yes. And when it's intentional like that, it tends to lead to feelings of peace, connection with oneself. It becomes a space for growth.
And negative isolation.
That's when the time alone is maybe unwanted, forced, or and this is key when it's used primarily as a psychological defense mechanism.
Oh, okay. Like hiding.
Sort of. If the drive to be alone comes from, say, past trauma or a deep fear of vulnerability, or it's a way to maintain that detached, independent image to cover up wounds, then it's maladaptive. It leads to disconnection, emotional numbness, often deep loneliness, even if you tell yourself you prefer it.
And the consequence for SQ development, if it's trauma-based, a complete block.
Pretty much yes, because the self is essentially stuck in a protective mode. If that defense mechanism shuts down access to your own emotional depth, you can't access the resources needed for empathy or compassion.
Right.
And SQ requires learning from adversity, from suffering. But if you're using solitude precisely to avoid confronting that suffering, the whole growth process stalls.
Okay, so if we accept that the Sigma type might have this intellectual strength and this preference for solitude, how can they actually use that constructively? How do they channel it towards mature SQ?
They need to consciously repurpose that solitude. Make it intentional. For example, time spent alone in nature hiking, just sitting quietly somewhere vast. This can directly foster holism and transcendent awareness. Well, engaging with something vast, like nature, tends to cultivate humility. It helps you see your own place in the bigger picture. That's a powerful counterweight to the potential ego inflation of the lone wolf identity.
Seeing you're just one part of a much larger drama.
Exactly. And that intentional solitude, that space, also allows for building a unique personal spiritual framework, sometimes called Shilaism,
Shilaism?
Yeah, it's just a term for a kind of secular spirituality, where you construct your own value system, your own meaning, outside of established religions or organizations. This directly supports personal meaning production.
So they build their own internal code, supported by that field independence we talked about.
Okay.
But what about the detachment problem? How does the Sigma overcome that emotional numbness without losing the objectivity they value?
This is where the concept of compassionate detachment comes in. It's crucial.
Oh, okay. Compassionate detachment. That sounds paradoxical.
It does. But it's not about emotional numbness or avoiding feelings. It's actually a practice skill. The Sigma can leverage their analytical mind to step back, view situations objectively with neutrality.
Okay, so the detachment provides objectivity. Where's the compassion?
The compassion is the conscious choice to simultaneously maintain genuine empathy and understanding for the feelings involve your own and others while holding that objective perspective.
Ah, I see. So the analytical mind isn't a shield anymore. It's a tool used alongside empathy.
Exactly. It transforms analysis from a defense into an ethically adaptive social skill. It's mastering emotions, not freezing them out.
Got it. And what's the final piece? For that solitary wisdom to really mature and be complete in an ESQ sense.
Service. Solitude ultimately has to lead back to connection and contribution. Zohar calls this the sense of vocation.
Vocation, like a calling.
Yes. The insights, the wisdom gained in that intentional solitude can't just be kept for oneself. Mature SQ requires translating that inner work into action that benefits the wider community or world. Solitude should be preparation for engagement, not the end goal itself.
This has been a really fascinating breakdown of, well, self-awareness, intent, and integration.
Yeah, and if we try to summarize the main takeaway here, it seems the Sigma male profile has a unique head start, you could say, on the cognitive and existential aspects of SECU. Things like critical thinking, field independence. The tools are there.
But, and it's a big but.
It's entirely conditional. Achieving full mature SQ seems to depend completely on transforming that solitude. It has to shift from being a potential psychological defense, a way to hide from fear or trauma, into a truly intentional space. A space for vulnerability, for healing, and ultimately for preparing to contribute.
So ditching the lone wolf badge for genuine inner work.
Pretty much. Committing to internal values over external image.
So for you listening, if any of this resonates with how you see yourself, the real test isn't wearing the lone wolf label. It's about empirical self-assessment. Can that powerful independence you feel genuinely coexist with measurable social sensitivity, with active compassion? That's the challenge.
Absolutely. And the next step, perhaps for future research or even therapy, is exploring how we could use structured solitude, maybe guided interventions, to help highly self-reliant people develop those crucial interpersonal SQ capacities. The key is making sure independence isn't just avoidance, and ensuring that the wisdom found alone actually makes its way back to benefit us all.